Good morning and welcome to the fourth meeting of the World Radio Communication Conference Advisory Committee of the FCC or the WAC. I'm Tricia Paoletta at Harris, Welcher and Granis, a proud member of the WAC. Today we will have a presentation and consideration of 5 preliminary views on the various work agenda items that the informal working groups have prepared for us. And if those 5 preliminary view recommendations are accepted, that will bring our total number to 24 preliminary views that we've recommended to the FCC. And that puts us in good stead for transitioning into the second phase of our work prep cycle, because with these 5 preliminary views for this fall CTEL meeting, and then thereafter, right, we'll be halfway through the work cycle towards work 2023 in 2 years. So we've certainly done a lot of work, and of course the development underway at the ITU of studies on most of the work agenda items, as well as the development of CPM text or conference preparatory meeting text, hopefully will provide the informal working group with enough information to start developing actual proposals for satisfying the agenda items that we can start developing for our winter WAC meeting, our next WAC meeting, proposals for the FCC's consideration. So thank you for all that to date. Brian, would you like to add some remarks?
No, I just want to thank everyone for the hard work. We look forward to the proposal development stage, and there's a long way to go still, but we appreciate everyone continuing their hard work, even under these remote conditions. I think I'm now going to turn it over to Tom Sullivan, our esteemed International Bureau Chief, for a few opening remarks.
Thank you very much, Brian, and good morning to all of our WRC-23 Advisory Committee members, FCC, and U.S. government colleagues. I appreciate the opportunity to kick off this virtual meeting, where I note, as Tricia had noted, that we are essentially at the midpoint of the WRC study cycle. And from a preparatory perspective, I believe the United States has exceeded its objectives through developing preliminary reviews for the majority of the WRC agenda items. And the US also continues to demonstrate leadership in the regional WRC preparations, in large part due to this advisory committee's recommendations and efforts. The FCC very much appreciates the hard work, coordination, and excellent collaboration among the advisory committee members. As we now turn the corner toward the development of WRC proposals, this is, of course, where your work will become most difficult. Accordingly, the discussions and negotiations on these proposals between membership may often get very complicated. Despite these challenges and complexities, we are confident that the advisory committee and the informal working groups will continue to work diligently and collaboratively on these WRC items in order to provide consensus recommendations to the Commission. Once again, the Commission thanks you all for your dedication and commitment to advancing the work of this advisory committee, and I personally look forward to following your progress. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom, for those words of thanks. And yes, you're right. It's going to get a little more challenging as we move forward, but we've had 2 years of warm up. We can handle it, hopefully. But yeah, thank you for that. And with that, I will ask for a motion to approve the agenda, which is in WAC document 2332. So can I get a motion to approve it?
So moved, Bob Willick.
Thank you, Bob. A second?
Second by Jane Stankiewicz.
Thanks, Jane. So with that, the agenda is approved, and we can get into more of the meat of this WAC meeting. Thanks.
All right, moving on to the approval of the minutes of our last meeting. This is document number WAC 2333. They've been out for comment for a while. Do folks have any discussion of the minutes? And if not, can I have a motion to approve?
Brennan Price and Marsad, I can move to it.
Thank you for that. Do I have a second?
Andy Scott with NCTA.
Thank you, Andy. All those in favor? Anybody opposed? Very good. The ayes anonymously and unanimously have it. The meetings are approved. Now Tricia will handle the Work 23 preparations, agenda item 4.
Thank you, Brian. Yes, so we are now going to ask for an update on Work 23 preparation. And I guess we'll start with the update from the FCC from Dante.
No audio.
Yeah, sorry about that. Thank you very much, Madam Chair, and good day to the meeting. So with regards to our WRC-23 preparations, I'll be very brief. As you have already stated, and some of the remarks from your Vice Chair and Mr. Sullivan, we are sort of rounding a corner here, and we have developed a very good number of preliminary views that have become U.S. Preliminary views and have gone forward to our regional group CTEL PCC2. In that arena, we're still continuing to develop and coordinate those preliminary views with other administrations within CTEL. But as I said, we're rounding this corner. We're entering a phase now where we're going to start considering the development of WRC proposals. And so in that regard, we have to now start carefully following the progress of the ITUR and some of the work there, especially with regards to the technical studies that support the WRC agenda items for the conference in 2023. So with that, I also would note that our work also in some of the other WRC regional groups has started. We have started to now coordinate with a number of the other regional groups. I was a recent participant at the African Telecommunications Union, the ATU WRC prep group that was held about 3 weeks ago. They are also progressing a lot of their preliminary positions on WRC agenda items. The European CPG group is planning to meet here in November to also progress there. So APG met back in July. And so all of the groups are very active right now. And so we're continuing to try to, let's say, keep pace with all of them to try to make sure that we're able to coordinate and sort of collaborate our mutual items of interest on WRC agenda items. So that is progressing very well. With regards to our work in the ITU, I'll address the calendar later on in the agenda about some of the ITUR and CTEL activities that we should start looking and following. Also have been, and I know that Mr. Charles Glass will be following me here, so I'm sure that we will continue to work with NTIA with regards to trying to reconcile our respective recommendations coming from the RCS and the WAC, and continue look forward to continuing to working with the NTIA and Mr. Glass's group. That's all I have. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Ibarra. Does anybody have questions to the FCC on the update? Okay, if not, we will ask Mr. Glass to give us an update on what is happening with the NTIA interagency preparation cycle. Thank you.
Thank you, and good morning, Madam Chair and everyone. So the RCS has been hard at work. We are looking forward to reconciling the documents that you have before you. This will, I believe, close out for us the work on preliminary views. We have already started turning towards proposals in the RCS. We have one proposal we just recently approved for agenda item 1.5. Unfortunately, not in time to get it over for consideration of the IWGs. We have another one coming up on issue 9.1 issue C, or topic 9.1 issue C, which we expect to approve. Both of those are what I would characterize as low-hanging fruit. We expect to get those out of the way fairly quickly, but it is time, as Dante indicated, to start turning towards proposals for the upcoming conference. And we hope to work with the WAC to expedite those at your next WAC meeting and see what we can get through CTEL. As typical, the US leads the way when it comes to proposals, and we usually have the vast majority of proposals that become inter-American proposals at the WRC, and we want to continue that trend. So we look forward with working both with the IWG process and with the FCC to reconcile those proposals. I would add that the upcoming CTEL meeting is going to be a challenge because CPG scheduled its meeting for the same time period. So both Dante and I are going to be a little conflicted trying to do both meetings. So that is going to be fun for us. But I'm sure that we will find a way to manage, and you will get the usual excellent service on both sides so that we can make sure that we cover both meetings and we can progress not only our work within CTEL, but make sure that we also represent CTEL interest in the CPG. And with that, Madam Chair, I will turn it back over to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Charles. And thanks for that reminder of how important the work of the WAC is relative to the ultimate development of CTEL proposals going into a World Radio Conference. So again, thank you for all the work you guys do, the members. Any questions for Mr. Glass on the interagency governmental side of the development of proposals for U.S. positions for CTEL? All right, if not, I'll turn it back over to Brian.
Thank you, Tricia. We'll now go through agenda item 5, the working group status reports and consideration of the preliminary views. We're going to start with Mr. Ladson and the Maritime Aeronautical and Radar Services Working Group report.
Hi, everyone, and thank you, Brian. Actually, Mr. Kolb, our vice chair, will be giving the reports. I was unable to chair the last 2 meetings, so if Kim is on, he will give the report. Thank you.
Very good.
Sure. Thank you, Damon. My pleasure to be here with everybody this morning and to be the vice chair of the meeting. It's my first WAC meeting with this, so a pleasure to participate and help out. So we had 2 meetings, one at the end of August and one at the beginning of September to go over our status and our agenda. And we previously had preliminary views for all the agenda items with the exception of 1.10. We did not progress anything beyond that. However, with the IKO meeting coming up and Working Party 5B, which is where the majority of the ITU technical work is, it was a good chance to talk about some of the issues and discuss that. And we identified some points of contact to start to try to bring ideas together to bring it to the proposal stage in the coming months. So we'll be prepared, as Dante suggested, start to pivot into that proposal stage of things. And that's the report for IWG1. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Kim, and thank you for stepping in to chair those last couple of meetings. Do we have any questions for Kim or for Damon for Working Group 1? If not, we will move on to Working Group 2, Terrestrial Services, and the indefatigable Jane Stankevich.
Good morning, everyone. And for IWG2, we had 1 meeting since the last WAC meeting, and we have no documents for consideration today, as we fortunately finalized all our PVs during the last cycle. So nothing to report today, and just many thanks to Vice Chair and the members of IWG2 for putting us in this position where nothing to report today.
You overachieving brief reporter, you, Jane. Any questions for Jane and the team? All right, great. Congratulations again to I will now turn it back to Tricia.
Well, thank you. And we'll be moving on to the report from the informal working group on state services. And Mr. Rosenbaum.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. We're here to bring up the rear, let's say. IWG3 met 4 times since our last one. We were able to complete our work on developing or commenting on actually preliminary views for all agenda items attributed to IWG3. As we mentioned, we're ready to switch to preliminary proposals now. But I would also like to express my thanks to the IWG membership for all their hard work and compromising spirit to get our first phase of work completed. With that, I would conclude my opening report for the status, and happy to take questions.
Okay, well, did you want to dive into some of the details on your preliminary views, Zach?
Yeah, sure. I'm happy to take those one at a time for sure.
Please. Okay.
Yeah, so first document is WRC 2334. And all of these documents that we're presenting today came to us originally from NTIA. And so each of the documents that we present are based on or have a foundation of an original document from NTIA. This agenda item 1.12 considers a possible new secondary allocation to the ESS active around 45 megahertz. The US view supports studies and a possible new allocation provided appropriate protection to incumbent services is ensured. And with that, I would offer document 34 for your consideration and approval.
Is there a motion to approve document 34?
Motion to approve. SES.
Any second?
I'll second it, Tricia. This is Jane Intel.
Thank you, Jane. So this document is approved as a WAC recommendation to the FCC.
Were you going to call for comments?
I thought Zach had done that. I'm sorry. Yeah. Are there comments?
I'm sorry, this is Bob Weller with NAB. Nothing substantial, just kind of pedantic comments. There's an inconsistency in this document as well as I think all of the others about using a hyphen or an M dash, and there's a percentage sign after some of the, I'm sorry, a degree sign after some of the numbers, but not after some of the others. I'm not sure what's up with that. And there's, you know, 2 spaces after a period in some cases and not in the others. So it just for consistency, it might be good to go back and clean that stuff up. Thank you very much.
Okay. Then I think, do we have a motion to approve with editorial comments, or not editorial, strictly grammatical cleanup comments?
Motion to approve with editorial privileges.
Second? Is there a second?
Tricia, this is Jane. I'll second it again. But Zach, if you could just please circulate it again after.
Yes, I'll work with FCC staff to ensure that we get the final document on the website so everyone has access to that, and I guess circulated using the listserv. Yes.
Yeah, there is a WAC general listserv, right? So we can do it that way. Okay. All right. Well, thank you. And thank you, Bob, for noticing that. We want to have clean documents as we recommend those to the FCC. Okay, so moving on to the second of IWG3's preliminary views, document 35. Oh, sorry, 35.
Yes. So WRC 23 document 35 also came to us from NTIA. This is a document built on that foundation. Agenda item 1.17 considers certain FSS frequencies for satellite to satellite communications. The U.S. support studies called for in Resolution 773 and specifically clarifies its support for these satellite to satellite transmissions to be limited to the same direction of transmissions of the underlying FSS allocations that are being studied. Based on these studies, the U.S. supports consideration of appropriate technical and regulatory actions by WRC-23 to address this resolution. And with that, I would offer document 23 for your consideration.
Okay, are there comments on this one? Do we have the same cleanup issues on this one, Bob, or anybody else?
Sorry, this is Bob Weller. I think my comments apply to all the documents from IWG3. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for that. I'll go through with an editorial comb and make sure that we don't have, well, at least that they're consistent across the board. I'll seek guidance as well from the FCC for what is the standard. I apologize for that.
All right, so is there a motion to approve document 35 with Zach's cleanup privileges?
Zandy with NCTA, I'll move.
Thank you. And do we have a second?
It's Zach from SES to second.
Very good. Okay, could you move on to your next preliminary view for us, Zach?
Yes, WAC document 23, document 36 rather, came from NTIA as well. Topic A under agenda item 9.1 addresses space weather sensors and setting appropriate recognition and protection for them in the radio regulations. The US view states that changes to the radio regulations are outside the scope of agenda item 9.1, but we further clarify that we support studies and will contribute to the work for resolution 657. With that brief introduction, I would offer it for your consideration.
Are there questions to Zach on this document on space sensors? If not, do we have a motion for Zach or for the WAC to approve with Zach's cleaning this up with non-substantive edits?
Tricia James Stankiewicz, Intel.
Thank
I'll make the
you.
motion.
Thank you, Jane. Do we have a second?
Bob Weller.
Thank you, Bob. All right, with that, the WAC has approved this recommendation with Zach's editorial privileges. And now your last preliminary view, Zach, if you could present document 37.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Again, came to us from NTIA, so this document's a foundation in that. Topic D addresses studies between ESS passive stations operating in the 36 to 37 gigahertz and adjacent band operations of the FSS in 37.5 to 38 gigahertz. The US view again states that changes to the radio regulations are outside the scope of Agenda 9.1. We support studies to determine if it is necessary and feasible for certain NGSO FSS stations to meet a maximum out-of-band ERP limit under certain specific geometries. The US endorses the agreement of WRC-19 that no modifications to Resolution 750 are to be considered in these studies since the 36 to 37 gigahertz ESS allocation is not a 5.340 band. With that brief introduction, I would offer document 37 for your consideration.
Thank you, Zach. Are there questions to Zach on this document? All right, then can I get a second for the WAC's approval of this with Zach's non-substantive editorial privileges, and with the understanding that all these will be recirculated to the WAC for a final review? Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve. Zach from SES.
This is Andy with NCTA. I'll second.
Thank you, Andy. All right, with that, the WAC has approved conditionally with these privileges, the document 37, and of course, all of them under IWG3. I must commend you guys for your work and for working so cooperatively with NTIA, and for NTIA for their great, productivity this cycle. They're kind of beating us private sector folks, so we got to do better, for our next meeting.
Noted, Madam Chair. I'll work harder.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Rosenbaum. I'll turn it over to you, Brian.
Great, thank you, Tricia. We now turn to Working Group 4, regulatory issues, and a report from Mr. Goldman.
Hi, yeah, thank you. Working Group 4 met 3 times since the last WAC meeting. We have one preliminary view, also actually came from NTIA originally with some edits from the working group. This has to do with agenda item 7, and it tees up 6 topics to be studied. The 6 topics are tolerances for certain characteristics of non-GSO space stations in the FSS, BSS, and MSS. Topic B, and I've noticed in the version that got sent around, and I apologize for this, that topic B is on the same line as topic A, and so I think we need to fix some formatting on here, which we can do and send it back around. I don't think it changes anything substantively. But topic B is non-GSO BIU post-milestone procedures. Topic C is protection of geostationary satellite networks in the mobile satellite services operating in the 7, 8, and 2030 gigahertz bands from emissions of non-geostationary satellite systems operating in the same frequency bands in identical directions. Topic D, modifications to Annex 1 to Annex 4 of Radio Regulations Appendix 30B. Topic E, improve procedures in Appendix 30B for new member states. And topic F, excluding uplink service area in AB 30A and R13 and AB 30B. The US view is to support all of the study issues with some limits on what gets studies with the tolerances in topic A. I can answer any questions if anyone has any.
Yeah, any questions for David or regarding this document more specifically? David, I think we should just grant you editorial privileges again, at least to clean up the topic B bullet point issues. That should be easy enough, right? Any other discussion, or if not, can I have a motion?
Brennan Price and Marsada, move approval.
Thank you. A second.
Zacharias, yes, second.
Thank you. Very good. The document is adopted. Any additional questions for David or any other follow-up? If not, that concludes the working group reports. And I will turn it back over to Tricia to discuss future meetings.
Okay, well thank you, Brian. Thank you, David. We will go to Dante to walk us through the preparation cycle timeline as it's now appearing to us this fall.
All right, thank you very much, Madam Chair. So briefly, we just concluded the ITUR Study Group 7 block meeting, which concluded last week. And so we're sort of now entering let's say a nice peak of meetings coming up here in the next several months, starting with Working Party 5D, which starts next week. And then we start getting into the Block 6 meeting group with Working Party 6A, but also at the same time, we'll be dealing then with the Study Group 4 block, which deals with all of the satellite issues, the FSS, MSS matters, and then furthering down into late October and November, we continue with the Task Group 6-1, which is dealing with Agenda Item 1.5 for WRC-23. And furthering down the schedule, you can see the Study Group 1 block meets in early November. Heading down to the 8th of November, we have our regional group CTEL PCC2 meeting scheduled from the 8th through the 12th of November. That will be where we will be seeking to reconcile these WAC recommended preliminary reviews we just approved. We'll reconcile those with NTIA and try to have a common agreement on those so that they can be sent forward to the regional group meeting here on the 8th of November. After that, I think you'll see the Study Group 5 block, which is mainly the terrestrial services group, meeting through mid-November to early December. And then please note that there is a regional WRC ITUs hosted WRC interregional workshop on WRC-23 preparation. Certainly encourage those of you who are interested. It's a very informative meeting where the regional groups will be providing updates on their various work tasks to support these WRC-23 agenda items. So there will be representatives from each of the WRC regional groups there. There will also be panels to discuss particular issues and such. So it'll be a very informative meeting for a couple of days there. So I encourage you to participate if possible. Further down, I think the topic, if you look forward to the next calendar year, we don't know yet when the next PCC2 meeting after this November meeting. We're just anticipating, sort of planning that it will be sometime in the March to early May timeframe. I'm sorry, March to early April timeframe. And so we're thinking about trying to select a planned date for our next WAC meeting. And as you can see, we're looking sometime in the month of February to pick that. And I know that we're going to discuss that here shortly on the agenda. But what this sort of does is it allows us to at least have the IWGs start planning their work. So essentially, after the conclusion of this November PCC2 meeting, the IWGs are going to have to start meeting essentially right away in order to get some of the prep work for this potential February WAC meeting number 5 date next year. So there may have to be maybe some meetings before the time off for the holidays, and possibly starting up IWG meetings as soon as after the first of the year in order to try to get the work done before this planned WAC meeting number 5 date in February 2022. Of course, if we have some better indications after the CTEL meeting and there's some changes in what we were thinking in terms of planning, we'll certainly try to adjust that to accommodate. But I think right now I'm comfortable. I think that there will probably be a PCC2 meeting probably in the early April timeframe, similar to what they did this year, where they had an April meeting, and then previous to that, last year's was in December. So it's kind of like the timing is sort of there for this one as well to follow. So, but we'll keep track of that and certainly advise if there are any changes with regards to the IWG plannings and such via the website and certainly on the reflectors. And I think that's all really for now. The schedule will certainly become, will start to change a little bit as we progress into 2022. So, but that's it for now. Thank you very much, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Ibarra. And I see Mr. Glass from NTIA has his hand up. Do you wish to ask a question?
I do, Madam Chair. I'd just like to remind folks that at the interregional workshop, we will likely be standing up the informal group on WRC structure, which does give lend some urgency to the development of proposals. I know it seems like we have a lot of time before the conference, but remember that 6 months prior to that is the CPM. So we are starting to get into that time crunch. So I would urge people to keep that in mind and to start thinking about future conference agenda items, because before you know it, we're going to be in a position where we're going to be asking for those. And it would be helpful if people start thinking about those. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Glass, for that reminder. Well needed. All right, Mr. Ibarra, can you go ahead with your thinking on the winter WAC meeting, our next WAC meeting, the dates?
Yes, thank you very much. So right now we have tentatively picked the 15th of February to try and plan accordingly. So that will be sort of again a tentative date right now, depending on when CTEL decides to schedule its meeting, and that won't be decided until this November meeting. And so once we have a confirmation, we may adjust slightly, maybe a week or two, depending on the actual dates of the PCC2 meeting. But for now, we're picking the 15th of February as the next WAC meeting, number 5. And so accordingly, I would certainly encourage your IWG chairs and vice chairs to start planning their meetings as soon as possible. So looking at possible meetings to start as early as mid to late November, maybe into early December, at least to have at least one meeting, and then perhaps resuming those meetings after the holiday break in early January, so that we can try to meet this February 15th tentative date. But again, we will certainly adjust those dates accordingly once we know when the PCC2 decides on the next meeting dates. Thank you.
All right, well, thank you, Mr. Ibarra. And since we're not likely to have a normal Christmas season and holiday season with lots of parties, I guess we can do IWG work instead. So, all right, thank you. I'll turn it over to Mr. Tremont.
Certainly. So I want to remind everyone to send in an email to WRC23@fcc.gov indicating they are present today so that the minutes can accurately reflect all attendees. We appreciate that. Any other business from anyone?
I just wanted to check to see, Brian, if I could, to see if there were any comments or questions on our live FCC emails. I don't know if we have, if Alan Young could advise if we have any.
Nothing has been received on live questions.
Okay. Thank you for that, Alan. No, then nothing else from me. Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair.
Very good. With that, I think we are prepared to adjourn unless the chairwoman has any final thoughts.
I have no final thoughts. I'm ready to virtually gavel out of this virtual meeting.
All right, very good then. I want to thank everybody again for joining us today. A very efficient procedure. And thanks again for all the hard work, and we look forward to seeing you in February.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.